microphones, please, councillors, because we'll leave them unmuted for the duration of the meeting. Yeah, okay, we're done. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Start with item 1, the opening prayer and statement of acknowledgement. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council, help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established among us all. Amen.
Amen.
Manningham City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of the land we now know as Manningham. We pay our respects to Wurundjeri elders past and present and value the ongoing contribution to the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council would also like to acknowledge the contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public to this council meeting who have joined us online to observe proceedings. In response to the evolving coronavirus situation, recent changes were made to the Local Government Act, which permit council meetings to be held virtually for a limited time. The health and safety of our community employees is our priority during these uncertain times, so we are holding virtual council meetings to further reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19. You will notice a few changes to how we conduct our meetings. You won't be able to attend the meeting in person, however, you are able to watch the live meeting via our Facebook page, and you can also watch recordings of the meeting at any time that suits you. We are still taking questions from the public and encourage people to submit their questions in accordance with our normal practices prior to the start of the meeting. As you can't be present in the chamber to read your question, we will read it out for you and a response will be provided where we have the information to hand. If we're unable to provide a meeting response, we'll take your question on notice and provide a response in writing. We'll deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and 2 questions on any one issue. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to council through the normal channels. Finally, I would like to advise that if we experience technical issues during the meeting, we will make every attempt to resolve the issue within 30 minutes. If we are unable to resolve the issue, the meeting will be adjourned until another time and date. A notice will be placed on council's website advising the meeting has been adjourned and when it is expected to reconvene. All council meetings are governed by a meeting procedure local law. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda by calling it by number and reading the title. I will then call for a mover and seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors are able to join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. I will now confirm councillor attendance. Councillor Goff, Councillor Kleinert, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor Chen, Councillor Hynes, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Zafiropoulos, Councillor Galbally and Councillor McLeish. Councillors, can you please confirm by show of hands that you can see and hear everyone? Thank you. All councillors have confirmed that. The CEO has received a request for leave of absence from Councillor Sophie Galbally. Do I have a mover for this matter? Councillor Zafiropoulos.
I move that leave be granted.
If you could read the motion that's on the papers, please, Councillor.
I haven't seen the motion. Could Michelle do it?
Just move the. I can.
On page 4 of the paper.
Yep. That a leave of absence be granted to Councillor Sophie Galbally for the period of 23rd of June 2020 to the 22nd of July 2020.
And I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. So the mover is Councillor Klein, seconder is Councillor Zaparopoulos. I will put the motion. Those for, please raise your hand. All councillors have raised their hand in confirmation. That motion is carried. Item 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. There are no notifications of conflict of interest so far. Would anyone like to give a notice of conflict of interest at this time? No councillor has indicated they wish to, so we will proceed. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover for this matter?
Yes, I'd like to move that.
Councillor Conlon.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on 26th of May 2020 and the special meeting of council held on the 28th of May 2020 be confirmed.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hynes, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those for, please indicate by raising your hand. Thank you. All councillors have raised their hand in confirmation. That is carried unanimously. Item 5, presentations. 5.1, Queen's Birthday Honours List. I would like to acknowledge the Manningham residents who have been honoured for their community and career contributions in this year's Queen's Birthday Honours List. Mr. Hardy Shum of Templestowe for service to the Chinese community of Manningham. Mr. Richard Thompson of Lower Templestowe for service to the conservation of Australian native orchids. Ms. Sarah Sabash of Doncaster East for service to women and to the Muslim community of Victoria. Mr. Tom Kelly of Donvale for significant service to business, particularly to the natural resource supply industry. Ms. Antoinette Kimmett of Donvale for significant service to business and to gender equality and inclusion. Mr. Robert Peake of Donvale for service to Australian rules football and to sports administration. Mr. Bruce Parker of Warrandyte for service to the community and to the automotive industry. Congratulate all of those recipients of an OAM and thank them for their extraordinary service to our city and state. Item 5.2, the passing of Ben Alexander OAM. Councillors, it is with deep sadness that I must inform you of the recent passing of Mr. Ben Alexander OAM. Mr. Alexander was a notable member of our local community who was honoured with a Medal of the Order of Australia in recognition of his 47 years of service to the North Eastern Jewish Centre in Doncaster. As a primary motivator towards the construction of that centre, he also designed the building itself and assisted in the project for the construction of that centre. Mr. Alexander also played a very active role in the Manningham Interfaith Group. Councillors, we have a motion before us to acknowledge his passing. Do I have a mover for that motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hynes.
I would like to move that council place on record its sadness and regret at the recent passing of Mr. Ben Alexander OAM, and record that its appreciation for the contribution by Mr. Alexander to the Manningham community, and extend its condolences to Mr. Alexander's family at this very difficult time.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kleiner. Councillor Hynes.
I'd just like to add that in 2009, when Ben Alexander was given his OAM, he'd already been working quite extensively, not only in this area, but others. And in 1962, he called for families to help fund what is now our North Eastern Jewish Centre, and which is at 6 High Street in Doncaster. Not only did he design that one, but many others throughout Melbourne. He was asked when he was given this OAM what he wanted to be recognised for, and he said that I am proud to have been part of this from the start. it is more than a job for me. It's about giving something back to the community. Now, that was back in 2009. For the many years after that, he contributed in many ways, including with the Interfaith Network and other things about pulling people together. And there was dinners held at the North Eastern Jewish Centre of people of many faiths and many people. So he has been a strong person right up until his passing. And in March 2019, I was at a nice public event that he also helped run. And he is a polio survivor, so his contribution to our community can't be understated, and I'm grateful that Manningham Council has recognised him at this time.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kleiner?
Nothing further to add.
I will put the motion, those for. Thank you, councillors. That's carried unanimously. Item 6, petitions. There are no petitions. Item 7, public question time. We have received a number of questions for tonight's council meeting. At this time, anyone submitting a question to council is not required to be present, and therefore I will address the questions. The first 2 questions are from Councillor Meg Downey. There is a preamble to this, but in essence, the question is, are councillors aware of the renovations to the FOMDAC facility at the Council Dog Park, and would they like to visit? I'll take that question on notice and a written response will be forthcoming. Question 2, it's pleasing to read of the $68 million the Andrews government is investing in local sports facilities in Melbourne's northeast, including 3 new soccer facility on Templestowe Road. My understanding is that when the North East Link project is completed, Manningham residents will benefit from 5 new sporting grounds worth millions of dollars funded by the Andrews government. Surely a little bit of pain for all this gain is worthwhile. Will council now withdraw from spending ratepayer money on this expensive legal action against the state government in relation to this project? The response to that question is fairly simple. Our council will continue to advocate for its community quite strongly, and we will use every means available to us to represent our community as effectively and appropriately as we can. And we will continue with the legal action. And I should also point out that the context of this particular question is from an active member of the Labor Party. So it's not surprising that they would be asking a question of this particular type. We have received 2 questions from Stella Yee. My apologies, Ms. Stella Yee. I will read out the first question. I'm sorry, I'll try that again. There is a preamble here and then I'll read the 2 questions. I have publicly asked questions at council meetings since October 2019 about the steps that Manningham Council will take to inform all ratepayers of their entitlement to vote in council elections. I'm very disappointed to note that to date Manningham Council has not, 1, informed all ratepayers of their entitlement to vote, 2, informed those ratepayers who are not happy and cannot be on the state electoral roll that they have to apply at council offices to be on the CEO's list of voters. 3, the last day to enrol is August 28th, 2020, entitlement day. As of today, there is still no information on council's website about the upcoming council elections in October 2020 and how ratepayers can enrol to vote. 2 weeks ago, on June 10th, 2020, I went with my husband to the council office to inquire about the process of enrolling to vote as an occupier ratepayer. The office was unable to give us the information and asked for our contact details. No one from council contacted us for 9 days, and my husband had to write in on June 19th, 2020 to follow up. This is clearly not good enough. The 2 questions from Ms. Yee are: 1, why are staff at the council's front office still not properly trained to assist ratepayers to enrol to be on the CEO's list of voters? 2, will you ensure that all necessary information for groups of ratepayers with the entitlement to vote but must apply to be on the CEO's list of voters, i.e. owners and occupiers, is published on the council's website as soon as possible? Thank you for your questions, Ms. Yee. As those questions relate to the 2020 council elections, I will ask the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Andrew Day, to respond.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you also, Ms. Yu, for the question. I apologise for the delay in getting a response to you as well. So as you'd appreciate, we have a new Local Government Act, new boundaries, no names for those boundaries as yet, and we actually do not have the regulations to create the necessary forms to enrol people. So as soon as we have the forms or the regulations and are able to develop the forms, I can assure you our staff on the front counter will be made aware of that, and we will put the necessary information up on the council's website to make everyone aware of the process. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. We have some further questions from another ratepayer. We have received 2 questions from Mrs. Mary Merkinich. Question 1, issues related to moving of the soccer fields to Templestowe Road area. Can someone please respond to the following, please? Issues, facilities, playing surfaces, number and surface, pavilions and other facilities provided for the tenant clubs, lighting for playing surfaces and peripheral, permissible days and hours of operation, permissible gallery attendance, traffic and transport, variations in traffic on Templestowe Road and other related road network, variations in traffic on the site, current car parking on site and net increase in parking. Lighting spill affecting residents, impact of lighting on wildlife. Noise. As this question relates to council facilities and assets, I would ask the Director of City Planning and Community, Mr. Angelo Corumbus, to please respond. Mr. Corumbus has joined the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Merkinich, for your question. The North East Link project have prepared a draft planning scheme amendment to facilitate the Templestowe Road soccer facilities that you're questioning, and those facilities are located at the Bulling Golf Driving Range and an adjoining parcel of land owned by Parks Victoria. That planning scheme amendment is known as C132, and it's currently on public exhibition for everyone to view. And it's available on the government website engage.vic.gov.au. So that website includes a number of reports as part of the amendment process, including a master plan that shows what that facility will look like. And it includes, as I said, a number of reports that deal with a number of the issues that you've raised in your question, including traffic and transport, lighting, ecology, etc. So I encourage you, as well as any other local members of the community, to actually visit that website, review the information, and consider making a formal submission to the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corumbus. We have a second question. Does Council continue to be bound by a Memorandum of Understanding or any other instrument that would restrict the information it provides to the public on the proposed North East Link project? If so, please advise the details. Once again, as this matter relates to the North East Link project, I would ask the Director of City Planning and Community, Mr. Corumbus, to respond.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor, and thanks again for the question. So yes, Council has entered into an agreement with the North East Link, which allows the sharing of confidential information between the two parties. The use of such agreements is commonplace between levels of government in major and complex projects of this nature. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I really wanted to add in response to this question.
Thank you, Mr. Corumbus. Item 8, admission of urgent business. We have a couple of items of urgent business to admit, councillors. Do I have a mover for this particular matter? Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Council admits for consideration the following urgent business items at item 14 of this meeting. Item 14.1, Audit and Risk Committee Independent Member Reappointment, and item 14.2, Hynes Park Warren Dyke construction tender.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goff. Councillor Piccinini, thank you for the motion. I will put this motion to the meeting. Those for? I see all councillors have their hands raised. I'll therefore declare the motion carried. Item 9, planning permit applications. There are no planning permit applications. Item 10, city planning and community. 10.1, planning scheme amendment C130 MANN-11 Toronto Avenue, Doncaster. Consideration of panel report. Do I have a mover for this matter?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Goff.
I move that the planning scheme amendment C130 Manningham 11 Toronto Avenue, Doncaster, for consideration of the panel report.
Just bear with me for a second, please, Councillor. Councillor, I'm afraid that's not the recommendation that's before us.
You actually want the council note the context of the panel report for amendment C130.
I think you'll find if you look at the agenda, Councillor, that there is a complete recommendation in the agenda. So we are indeed just we are moving a motion that the recommendation be adopted.
Well, I've got the papers, I've got the blues, and the blues.
Item 10.1 on page 9, Councillor.
On page 9, Jeff.
Yeah, that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Oh.
So you have a motion before us, councillors. What's the motion that you are moving, Councillor?
Well, I'm moving the recommendation of the motion that's on in the papers on item 10.1 on page 3. Do you want me to read that part?
No, are you moving the recommendation in the report, Councillor? That
Yes,
the
I am.
recommendation be
Yeah.
adopted?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you, Councillor. That's very clear now. Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Galbally. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I know that this is an issue that's been around for a long time, and it's one that has been sort of complex and difficult sometimes to get your head around. But in essence, Mr. Mayor, what we are doing here is we went out at our last meeting, I think it was last year, it was October, was it? 21st of October 2019, to get a panel, and we've got the panel report back in March, 4th of May, sorry, and it was open to the public on the 1st of June this year. And that panel report is agreeing that actually the DDO should be taken off and that this property comes in line with other properties surrounding. There have been a lot of issues with this property over the years, councillors, and I'm sure you know some of the details of it. But at the time, this particular property was wanting to be a dual occupancy facing the front. It wasn't permitted. And it was just built as a single house. And then there was an overlay put over here to stop them getting around the planning scheme. Subsequent to that time, the rules have actually changed in and around these particular areas. And therefore, this now becomes the anomaly. And so this particular moving and removing of the DDO on this particular property, bringing it in line with the other properties around, is consistent with our planning scheme for that particular area, and as such has been recommended by the panel. And this is the process that we have of passing that recommendation on, and if council approve it, we're actually making that recommendation to go to the minister.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Galbally.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Do any other councillors like to speak to this particular matter, for or against? I see no indication that anyone does, so I will therefore put the motion. Those for, please raise your hand. It's Councillor Goff, Councillor Kleinert, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Hynes, Councillor Galbally, Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, my hand is not up.
Sorry, it's a bit hard to see with the background.
Oh.
Councillor, that's my mistake, not yours. Councillor Goff, Councillor Kleinert, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor McLeish, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Zafiropoulos and Councillor Galbally. Those against? Councillor Hynes, Councillor Chen. That is carried. Thank you, councillors.
Sorry, I'm happy to change my background at some point.
No, that's just my mistake, councillor. It's not a problem. I need to look a little closer at the image. I'm still getting used to simply looking at images. Okay, we are up to item 10.2, the request for a disability advisory committee. Do I have a mover for this particular matter?
Mr. Mayor, I've actually got a bit of an addition to a bit of an alternate to point B of the recommendation.
So,
Would you like me to read it out?
Councillor, if you could simply please just read your entire motion, that will just make it as simple as possible.
Shall do. Okay. I recommend that Council A support the establishment of a dedicated disability advisory committee through an expression of interest commencing in July 2020 with the committee formally established in late 2020. Point B of the recommendation is to request officers to explore and report back by June 2021 on alternative models to the current Access and Equity Advisory Committee to ensure all other groups, including but not limited to our cult community, faith groups, men and women in terms of gender equality and the LGBTQIA+ community, and ensure that they're well represented in council.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder to that matter? Councillor Zafiropoulos. Councillor Galbally.
Yeah, well, I've been on council now for about 8 years, and I've been the chair of the current Access and Equity Committee for a lot of that time. And what I've noted is that council is required to have a disability action plan. And at the moment, it's sort of immersed in the whole Access and Equity Committee as far as our community representation is. Now, for us to have an active disability action plan, we actually have to be able to identify actions that we can actually, as a council, ensure that we're covering all the requirements for the legal requirements, that is, to provide equal access to employment, public buildings, goods and services and facilities. And now that's under the Disability Discrimination Act of 1992. And for us to effectively do that, we really need to have a separate disability advisory committee. So that's the basis of my request. And the point B, a part of this request, is to ensure that all of our other community groups are looked after, and that we actually do have focus groups, and even if it's within that same Access and Equity committee that's currently there. The other groups can be better represented in themselves, and that's why I've sort of asked for this report to come through and ensure that they are also respected. That's it.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Yes, I'd like to support Councillor Galbally's comments and support this recommendations for a number of reasons. I had the privilege to chair that committee and to participate for a number of years. And my experience has been that the committee, with all the good intentions of council, was not as effective as it could have been, merely because it tried to do too many things. There are 5 or 6 groups. The committee meets once a month, and each group, whilst they all share the common element of social inclusion, each one of them has got different needs and different concerns, and trying to address all of them makes it impossible when you have such diversity of views in the committee. So having a separate disability committee makes a lot of sense, and I think we should examine some of the other groups that may deserve to have separate committees. The only disadvantage is that these committees require resources to be supported and administered. However, the benefits council can get by getting proper advice, more thorough views about what is required in our community to make sure that all groups have equal chances to contribute and participate. And I think that deserves the little expenditure for what we will benefit as a community.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any speakers against the motion? Councillor Chen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the current committee, its terms of reference was last reviewed in 2018, not long ago. I personally support a separate disability advisory committee if it can support council in its decision-making on disability issues. What concerns me are the process and the timing. As a former member of this committee, my experience was all positive, and the committee provided valuable advice to council. We all know that a committee's performance can vary from time to time. I'm very mindful that there are other marginalized groups in the Access and Equity Advisory Committee. They represent our residents from all backgrounds, women and men in terms of gender equality, and LGBTQIA+ population. They may have their own concerns and wish to have a separate structure as well. So what is the justification of taking one particular group out of the current structure tonight? And I have to ask, why should the other members be treated differently? And why should they have to wait for a report back to council before June 2021? Performance review and self-evaluation can be very helpful in uncovering useful insights to enhance effectiveness and improve performance. The evaluation results should form the basis of reviewing the terms of reference and the change in structure and the committee structure as well, so that any change in structure is well considered and will be in place when the current member's tenure ceases. This is the proper process, and this is good governance. The next council election will be in October this year, or just 4 months away. The incoming council will appreciate and take a fresh look and provide input to this very, very important committee, including the establishment of a disability advisory committee. Mr. Mayor, a responsible council needs to consider all factors, including social impacts and community perception of its decision-making. So for those reasons, if the original motion is not successful, I intend to foreshadow a motion to this matter, just to go back to the basics and follow the proper process and adhere to the principle of procedural fairness. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I found the officer's report really useful and persuasive in this matter. And there's just 2 points that I want to contribute to the discussion from the officer's report. And that is that the Victorian State Government recently did a survey of community attitudes around disability, and it found that in our community in Victoria, there's still a lot of discrimination and avoidance and discomfort towards people with a disability. So it's all the more reason, I feel, to start this committee now. And secondly, we have the NDIS, and the NDIS is a significant piece of legislative reform that is impacting everyone in our community with a disability. So all the more reason to start now with a separate disability committee to analyse the impact of the NDIS on our residents and how this affects the proper running of council. In relation to proper governance and procedural fairness, etc., I don't think it's particularly unfair to start with one and then deal with the others. It's just let's get on with it. And let's start with disability, because disability is a really relevant topic at the moment in our community, given community attitudes and the NDIS reform. So let's do it now.
Thank you, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Certainly, Councillor Hynes.
Just when I heard start it now, I believe that this wonderful proposal that's been put up to pass for a disability committee, advisory committee, isn't to go forward until it gets put together, and then it will be happening for the next term with a different council. Is that correct? Or are we looking at doing it right this minute?
They do it.
I meant let's start the process now.
Sorry, councillors, please. This is a question directed to the officers, and I'll let the officers handle the question.
Thank you.
So, I'm sure that question can be directed to, I'm fairly certain it's Angelo Karambas, who is joining the meeting this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that the council supports the establishment of a dedicated disability advisory committee through an expressions of interest process starting in July, so starting next month, with a committee to be formally established by late 2020. So we're effectively be starting the process now.
Thank you.
Thank you. That clarifies it. I'd like to speak.
So are there any other speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Hynes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I am grateful for this report. It too enlightened me as to what the state government has said. And I also support this motion and look forward to seeing the expressions of interest and the things going forward, so the new council can work with all the different disability as people around Manningham, including the NEMDAs, Heatherwood School, the many adult needs. This isn't just about physical disability. This is about all the disabilities. And with the NDIS that's now here, it will help our, I believe, the residents to get more information as to what's available to them, because our council officers have the ability to be able to do that. I'm personally aware that over the last many years with the Access and Equity Committee, because there's so much that's thrown into that one meeting, that richness of information is sometimes not given as much. So I'm looking forward to seeing a committee that the people of Manningham do get represented well, and the Access and Equity Committee will still go ahead in another, and the people that are there that feel that they don't get heard will get heard further. So I'm in support of this being a really good advisory committee. They are just advisory committees, and as people will be able to see in the report, Manningham councillors had them over the years and then disbanded them and then put them back in. And I think it's time that it did go back in for the NDIS issue and issues that have not been addressed over the years. But we also know that other councils that do have them are very aware, if you read the report, that there is a frustration by the lack of impact that these advisory committees have. But that's not just the disability. That's also all aspects of our community. I hear and been part of the community groups and also as part of the part of the committees that we definitely have so much to deal with at council, that the impact of making council decisions and the frustration that is felt is also felt not only at a councillor level and an officer level, but also at a community level right across the whole community. But I think this will help address some of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing this come forward, and hopefully all the councillors can support that.
Are there any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Galbally.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor McLeish. Talking about good governance, and we're talking about responsible council. I've been on council for 8 years, and I cannot leave this year without pushing for this one, because of, not only because I am a participant of NGOs, I'm also a provider of NGOs. I think I know disability quite well. I've been on Access and Equity Committee off and on. And if I don't do this now to support people with disabilities in Manningham, then I am not doing my job as a councillor. And if my council now are not going to use their knowledge for the last 4 years that they've been sitting on council to make sure that the incoming council, because they're going to be a bit naive on this, let's face it, they're not going to jump in on the job and know from day one that a disability, advisory committee is going to be the best thing for their constituents. They're not going to know that straight away. And I don't want to see Manningham wait another 8 years before they do the right thing and make sure that we actually follow the legislation and provide a good, active disability action plan. So thank you, and
thank you, Councillor. Councillor, I'll now put the motion. Those for? Councillor Goff, Councillor Kleinert, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor Hynes, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Galbally, Councillor Zafiropoulos, Councillor McLeish. Those against? Councillor Chen. Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.3, the 2020-2021 Community Grants Program Allocations. Councillors, we have a motion before us. Do we have a mover? Councillor Chen.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move the alternative motion, please.
Yes, Councillor.
And the motion is that Council endorse the officer's recommendation with the following amendment. Point B of the recommendation be amended to read: B, endorses 1, funding allocations for 2020-21 community development grants totaling $139,142 as per attachment 1. 2, funding allocations for 2020-21 arts and culture grants totaling $88,140 as per attachment 2, subject to the following amendment. Number 1, the application submitted by the Manningham Musicians Association be approved in full, and the funding amount increased from $9,100 to $13,190.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chen. Councillor Chen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And our community grant program includes community development, arts and culture, and small grants to provide funding to non-for-profit community groups and organizations to deliver programs and activities for our residents. Council allocates $240,000 in the draft 2020-21 budget for the arts and culture and community development grants. The assessment panel has recommended 22 grant applications to Council for funding, totaling $222,192. The alternative motion includes approval of Manningham Council Bank's application in full, and the funding amount increased from $9,100 to $88,190. A total allocation for the arts and culture grants will be $88,140. In Manningham, there are many sporting clubs and open spaces for active recreation. But there are residents who enjoy musical activities as much as playing sports. Some may prefer music over sports. Manningham Council Band is a community band and one of the oldest in Victoria. Many people give up their instrument after high school. The band provides that opportunity for our residents to reconnect with music outside of their busy work and life commitments. It has a large diversity of members who come from a variety of professions. The band has been bridging gender and generation gaps since it first began performing in the mid-1970s. The band has a very strong local connection, performing 5 major concerts each year, at citizenship ceremonies, on Memorial Days, and at festivals, and it contributes to the vibrancy and community spirit of Manningham. Manningham Council has been a financial supporter of the band. If Council can approve the band's grant application in full, the extra $4,090 will enable the members to access additional sheet music, explore and add new features in their performance, and can ensure the band to keep the ticket price low. Mr. Mayor, we all know that the healing power of music. Music can improve mood, decrease pain and anxiety, and facilitate opportunities for emotional expression. Research shows that music enlightens all areas of child development. So the band offers a series of Sunday afternoon concerts free for children under 13. Our children benefit immensely from the opportunity to engage in music. If we support the band's full funding application, the musician can focus on their music to produce a diversity range of music at low cost for our Manningham community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Conlon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Chen, for moving the amendment. I support the original motion, and particularly with the amendment. The Al Manningham band is unique, actually. I think it's the only proper band in Manningham. In fact, I've seen other groups come to play various Manningham events, and they are often from outside of Manningham. So this is this is probably the largest group, definitely the largest group within Manningham, and I think it's a sign of appreciation to actually grant them the extra money for the sheet music that they need. As a musician myself, like, you don't want to just keep playing the same old. It's good. Let's refresh. Let's freshen up their repertoire, and they are a great asset to Manningham. So I endorse it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any speakers against the motion?
Question.
Question from Councillor Hynes, certainly.
I have a question. It has been explained that Manningham Council for many years has been the financial supporter of the band. So I'd like a little bit of a history for the community, and also I've already had the history given to us as a councillor, and I have concerns that on the basis of just giving them the extra $4,000, that the other people that have also applied for these grants haven't been considered, and they're also arts people. So my question is to the officer, I think it's Angelo, what's the basis as to not giving them the extra at this time, and have they given extra, and is there extra funding that they do get beyond just this grant?
Giving whom, Councillor?
I think to our officers, to this band, to the band, yeah, and the leader of the band as the Manningham Concert Band, particularly.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll direct this matter to the Director of City Planning and Community, Mr. Karambas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand the question is on what basis did the assessment committee not recommend the full amount as being proposed? Is that correct, Councillor?
That's one of the questions, part of the question.
Yep. So yeah, the committee, the assessment committee recommended the 9,000. Excuse me, the lesser amount, primarily because of the band's or the association's previous record in complying with some of the conditions in previous year's grants. So they haven't met all the criteria. And the aim of the assessment panel's, I suppose, objective in giving them that little bit less was to encourage the association to look at alternative funding streams and to ensure compliance with the conditions that were previously placed on them.
And the other part of the question is there other money that is given to them outside of this one grant?
No, we've looked at that issue and we're not aware of any other funds that are given per se to the Manningham musicians. But just to be absolutely clear, the musical director from the Manningham band, the council does contract that person for the Carols by Candlelight event separately to this grant process, and they are paid an amount, and they were paid an amount in 2019 for the Carols event.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question myself, Mr. Karamba. So let me see if I understand this correctly. You have an entire band. They play at a whole range of council functions. They have access to a piece of space in one of our buildings, and our total financial contribution to them at the moment is $9,100. Yet they attend all of these community events. Is that right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. One of the issues has been that they haven't attended as many citizenship ceremony events as was requested previously.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Mr. Zafiropoulos, Councillor Zafiropoulos, sorry.
I'd like to say a few things about this group of musicians who represent Manningham. I had the privilege to attend many of their concerts, and I'm very impressed not only by the quality of music they provide, it's local, it energizes people who love music in our community. And the most important thing that really impressed me is the amount of volunteering each musician puts in for those concerts to be put on. Look, I have had some experience with musicians, and just one concert would require a lot more than $9,000 to put on. So what this group is doing for us, they're making us proud that in a demonstrable way, we indicate our support for the arts. And I'd be more than happy for them to get the full amount they asked. If there are compliance issues, there are other ways of ensuring that they deliver. We need to be reasonable about how many times we expect them to come and play. They're volunteers. They've got jobs, full-time jobs, most of them. So I understand we had citizenship ceremonies every week. You wouldn't expect them to come and play for us every week. This is unreasonable. I think they deserve a lot more than what they asked for. Let us give it to them and be generous about it. We're getting value for money there.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kleinert.
I agree with all that's been said. There's one thing to note that in actual fact, I think it's actually one of the last council bands to exist in Victoria. I think it might be there's one regional Bendigo, but I'm not even sure that that's still around. And that's something that we should pride ourselves in. The mental well-being that music brings to people that may not be engaged in sport. The fact that you have school-aged to the extremely wise that play together, the multicultural aspect of the diversity of cultures that play, the all abilities that are in there, and the fact that they really do bring about a stellar performance every single time that they perform. It takes hours and hours and hours to get something to a standard that actually the standard that they produce is second to none. I respect that there is a process and with regards to the grants, and have never argued with that. In this case, a councillor has brought that up, Councillor Chen, and I appreciate that. And really, we're not talking about, this is extremely hard times, because many of them would not have been able to, perform and coordinate their performances. 2 of their performances in COVID have been cancelled, where it brings little money in. That's not happened. We're not asking, in reflection, we're having this discussion over only a few $1,000s. Not big money. It's actually, when you look at it, you sort of look and think, wow, what we should be doing is we fund so many other things in arts and culture and sporting and in so many different ways. I think what's really important, what's really highlighted is that in the setting of this band, they may not be as, their art is music, their craft is music. And so that may mean that their strength is not marketing and figuring out how that they can grow the beautiful gift that they give to Manningham to enable to fund themselves, where they should be funded a lot more, because the hours that's spent of volunteer time, the sheet music should be something, that's just not a 5-minute thing. So I think it's a very small amount of money. I'd like to see that in moving forward, that then council would support them to give them some direction of where they can go to get some help, so we're not having this discussion again next year. But I fully support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor. Yep.
Councillor Goff.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Councillor Goff.
I wasn't going to speak on this particular issue, but I feel as if I need to at this particular stage. I don't know. I think, Mr. Mayor, you actually said it. For all of the things that they do, and they're getting $9,000, you get someone to come and perform an opening ceremony with a couple of things. You're up for $2 or $3, a couple of $1,000 each citizenship ceremony. That's for an individual. Like there are a lot of things that we pay for, and this is very, very cheap. They are a great organisation. They've been around for a long time. Perhaps they also need more money for new uniforms. They've been pretty good with the same old uniform for many, many years and things like that. Mr. Mayor, perhaps this is a wake up to us that their services should not be part of our community grants, but rather be funded from our budget and we need to look into that into the future. And I think, yes, we let the budget go through at this particular stage with the increased amount, and I agree with that. But let's be fair dinkum. Into the future, it shouldn't be reliant on a community grant. It should be something that we actually fund.
Is that a specific request, Councillor, or just a thought?
Well, well, in that case, Mr. Mayor, can I put an addition if it's suitable to the?
You can just ask for a report, Councillor, to the SBS. That's fine.
Oh, I could actually do one better than that.
No,
And
you can,
insert an amendment. Put a part D and say that consider for future budgets that the services of the Manningham Concert Band be put into our budget items and not part of the grants program.
Well,
That's if I get a seconder.
well, Council, I think there might be a more appropriate way to do it, and it's quite difficult to get an amendment through without actually seeing a written amendment.
Is this
The words are
problem
not
with
entirely
code?
clear. I'd encourage you to find another vehicle to do that, given this is a motion around the grants.
And this is a motion regarding future people that wouldn't be participating in those.
I'm not trying to enter a debate with you, Councillor. I'm just making suggestions. So if you can give me the words that the officers can write down that is an amendment to this motion, that would be helpful.
Yeah, look, I can, but Mr. Mayor, I'll take your advice. We'll get that for the next meeting.
Councillor.
I could do it. It's a bit of a difficulty with Zoom meetings.
That's precisely my point, Councillor. I'm not trying to stop you have your say. I think there's a
That's okay.
mechanism available to you to achieve what you want without
Not a
in
problem.
any way undercutting that. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hynes.
Thank you. I'm so glad that it opened up a very important discussion, because I agree that this is value for money as far as that goes. But we are here to discuss the community grants, and there has been this one put up. And my problem with at this point actually making this even part of the discussion has been the fact that there are many other arts people that put up grant applications and did not get anything, and others that got and if it's to do with the conditions of your grant, then therefore that's why it could be taken out at some point. But right now, what's in front of us, councillors, is the question of the grant funding and other arts people, and also
Point of order.
I'm asking maybe.
Sorry, Councillor, if you could just hold for a minute there, please, Councillor. Councillor Conlon, you have a point of order.
My understanding is that the speakers have one opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councillor, but I think you'll find that Councillor Hynes asked a question.
Okay, I can ask the question. How about that? Sorry, thank you.
No, I'm sorry. Councillor Hynes asked a question. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor. If I'm open to hearing what you're saying, Councillor Conlon. But the council asked a question earlier.
Yeah, and now I just want to speak on this motion.
Okay, if that's my understanding was that there was okay, that's fine. If that's your understanding, Mayor, that was a question prior.
So I agree that this is value for money. I'm not even speaking against the motion. I'm speaking against the fact that this isn't a fair process if we're just allocating it not based on the officer's report, because there are other people that aren't getting funded. But also the fact that other bands that have also put tenders up, that would like to put tenders up to be bands, and other community groups. When it's getting value for money, our community are full of volunteers that do the work for the community, and including this band and the people within it. My concern to actually go outside of the proper process is basically councillors wielding a bit of power to say that, okay, well, I'd like to be seen to be giving these people that extra money that the officers didn't grant them based on this report, which is the only reason I think this is a big concern, because there are other reports within this that people in the arts did not get, didn't get any money or even lower money, and yet they want to contribute to our community just as much. So that's all I've got to say about that. And maybe I'd like to foreshadow a question at the end of the meeting that we put a tender process forward, and also
Councillor, you can ask a question. You can ask a question at the end of the meeting rather than asking it now. Thank you.
Beautiful.
So thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will vote with the majority on this one, but I'd just like to say that I am a little bit concerned about, say, the decision-making process and interfering with, and how do we interfere, and how is it appropriate for us as 9 councillors to change the decisions that have been made by the panel, because the panel did meet for no doubt many hours, and they applied a set of criteria, and they had an independent community member as well who was sitting on the panel, Carly Klung from the Bendigo Bank. So, and I'd like to actually thank Carly for putting in, no doubt, many, many hours reading these applications and sitting on the panel with our senior officers, determining a very complicated, well, an involved process as to who gets what and why, and what the determining figures are for each recipient. So I will vote with the majority, but I am a little concerned about in moving forward, how would we as a set of 9 councillors change, impact, seek to alter the panel's decisions? And I think I'm echoing Councillor Hynes' comments actually, because there probably are other people who didn't quite get the right sum or didn't get any sum at all. And in the next round, do they approach us as 9 councillors and seek for us to amend, seek to do an amendment, a particular and special amendment just for them?
Thank you, Councillor.
So, yeah, okay, I just want to express that.
Thank you. Councillor Galbally.
Yeah, well, my concern is pretty much the same as Councillor Hynes and Councillor Puccinini's, because I actually think, why do we have a process of assessing the grant applications if we're not going to actually, I suppose, abide by them in some way, but sort of make our decisions? But we have to have some sort of trust in the assessment process that our officers and our community reps have been sitting on. Yeah, I too have been approached by a couple of groups that haven't got what they wanted or didn't get anything. But it is what I said. I said, yes, you're all volunteers. Yes, you really deserve this money, but we are limited and the assessment process is what it is. Yet now, we and I'm not saying that the Manningham van doesn't deserve it. I, like the rest of you, think, yeah, I'd love to give everyone the money. Seriously, all those applications deserve the money because they all give to Manningham and they all give volunteer hours and it's the cost of the projects that they want to give. So I too would have voted against this, basically on that principle.
So that's the only thing.
But what the point that Councillor Goff made about, if we really want to own this band, if we really want to request and to mandatorily turn up to all these events, maybe we should be funding it all together, but not through the grants. So that is my. I would support that process, but I think there are too many people here that have missed out.
Thank you,
we
Councillor.
are doing the wrong thing.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd make the observation from my perspective in the end that, to me, we get a lot of recommendations brought to us. They come through different channels and there are different people that help formulate those recommendations. In the end, we are the decision makers and that's what we're here to do tonight. That's my view on the matter. So, Councillor Chen, as the mover of the motion, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would like to firstly address some of the concerns, because I'm not here to make a dramatic change. I'm not here just to for those groups who are assessed not recommended, and we give them the money they applied. That is not the case. Here is the recommendation who make a slight adjustment, and this is our councillors' role and obligation to make a decision, because this is the councillors who go out to the community to attend the events and see how's going on, exactly what happened, and speak to the people who did the performance. And I'm quite happy that we have actually 2 musicians in this council turn, Councillor Clyden, Councillor Colin. They are musicians. They know how musician is actually contributed to their own time to practice. They know how difficult they are. And
musicians,
compared, I'm sorry, I'm speaking. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
And compared to other arts and community program, and this one is extremely different because the time they contribute, and that is for the whole year. And for the other program, just one program per year. But all right, I just go back to make the closing comments. And Mr. Mayor, community band plays a central role in the cultural life of our community. We all know that. And the members have their own professional lives, and they are committed to rehearse weekly because they love music and for the joy of sharing their music with the community. Just like Andrew, Councillor Colin and Councillor Kleinen, they know how they love to share their music with the community and with us as well. But even the band has requested similar amount in their application. It appears that the band was allocated. Sorry?
That's time, Councillor.
All right. Can I?
Wrap.
All right, that's fine. So I ask your support to this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I will now put the motion. Those for? Councillor Goff, Councillor Chen, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Zafiropoulos, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor Kleinert, Councillor Hynes, and Councillor Galvin. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimous.
Job, Sophie. Thank you, Paula.
Item 11, City Services. 11.1, Procurement Options Update Renewal Energy Power Purchase Agreement. So I have a mover for this particular matter. Councillor Zafiropoulos.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kleiner. Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Yeah. Look, I'd like to congratulate the administration for bringing that issue to us. Let me give you just a brief outline as to where we are with this particular issue. In January this year, Council moved unanimously to formally tackle the negative impacts of climate change by developing a plan and undertaking a number of initiatives aimed at further reducing our carbon emissions. Now, one of the strategies has been to use emissions-free renewable energy, such as wind or solar for our major buildings. This would amount to about 40% of Council's electricity consumption. So it's a substantial amount. In May last year, we agreed to join 39 other councils to pursue this objective. Following delays in that project, Council now has another opportunity to accept an invitation to join 13 other councils interested in power purchase agreement coordinated by Procurement Australia. And Procurement Australia is a major player in the field of distribution of electricity. This report basically is seeking Council's approval for the CEO to determine which procurement option to proceed with to the tender stage. Already, Council is proud that we have reduced our emissions by about 25% since the base year in 2008-2009. Following implementation of this proposal, an overall 50% reduction will be achieved, which is fantastic. Another initiative in the new green power is the new green power electricity contract signed recently with MIV Procurement for Manningham's public lighting, which constitutes another 40% of council's electricity use. So there you are, 80% of electricity will be coming out of renewable sources. I'm happy that council is showing leadership in this field and is achieving savings as well as being environmentally responsible. I seek your support for this excellent recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kleiner.
Thank you. Yes, this originally came to us actually about a year ago. So we were already in the process. There's a process that this undertakes. We're now at a situation which I think is a positive for Manningham, because in between our initial decision to look and entertain this, we then in January, as Councillor Zafiropoulos said, resolved for the climate emergency resolution. So I think these are great moves forward for our council. We are responsible in understanding that we have a responsibility for sustainability and climate action, but with that also that it's financial and feasible. So there's that balance, because we are a financially responsible council, and I think this sets a very good balance. I think we're heading in a really great way, as Councillor has stated. We're seeing improvements compared to energy use of 10 years ago, yet our city is growing. Looking at those larger buildings that we're able to use the PPA, and just in highlighting and understanding that the remaining 20% of council electricity used by small buildings, or the smaller buildings, is generally not suitable for this long-term PPA or green power, as typically it does not attract an affordable price offer. But we have other options, and that's where we've entered in our recently signed through the MAV procurement. It's a really great document. The officers have done a really great job. It is in line with what is now our council resolution in January. It's just a reminder that this process didn't happen as a result of January. We were already a council that was looking and being responsible in new technologies and advancements, and understanding that renewable energy, there is a space for local government to look at that responsibly. So I think it's a really great report, and I like where it's heading. And it's great that it is a lead of Darebin Council, and that we're part of being an innovative council that we are, to strive for better value for our residents. So it's to be commended.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? I will therefore put the motion. Councillor Chen.
Just very briefly, that the renewable energy power purchase agreement can be a powerful tool to reduce greenhouse emissions, and as ordinary residents, and that can be very useful to reduce electricity bills. But I mean that this is for councils, a big building. I understand that. But I also need to address need to stress that the community expectation for actions on sustainability are creating a mandate for local government leadership. So I fully support, and I think the most we all support the agreement, and council will also continue to investigate and consider other energy and emission savings initiatives. We never stop.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers for the motion? In that case, I will put the motion. Those for? All councillors have indicated their support for the motion. That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 11.2, the 2020 General Valuation Return. Do I have a mover for this particular matter? Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Conlon. Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So every year the state government come along and they value our rateable properties and our non-rateable but leviable properties. And actually this is quite a new method. The state government are now doing it annually every year, and it's the second year of this new process. Before then, we used to do it every second year, and it was actually council who would engage someone to do this report for them, an organisation to do it. And every year we receive now at about this time the valuation report. And by law, we are, as a council, required to read it and adopt it. And we normally get it before the commencement of the financial year. Now, there's a few interesting facts about this report, which are in the council papers, and that is that there are approximately 51,000 properties in Manningham that are rateable. And we have 927 new properties, new residences, and the majority of them are townhouses and apartments, and that the average increase in property prices or property values, I must say, for this year is 7.6%. And that valuation was done in January of this year, pre the COVID-19. In January of this year, was it not, Mr. Mayor? December. December. Thank you. Yeah. So it's important to note that these valuations are used to apportion our rates throughout Manningham, but they in themselves don't increase the rates, because the rates, the total lump, the total rate sum that we collect from our community is spread across the totality of Manningham, and the value of these rates mathematically are used to apportion the rates throughout the community, but it doesn't increase the total sum of rates that we collect in our municipality, that we collect every year for the benefit of the community. So I just would like to make that point. But it's a very interesting report, and I'm sure some of our residents will be interested in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Piccinini. Yes, this is something we basically have to rubber stamp. Doesn't mean we should be happy about it though, because under this new process, there is going to naturally be a lot more fluctuation, because we are evaluating it every year. There's going to be fluctuations within pockets of Manningham where people's rates will go up far more than the 2.5%, which is the across the board increase, because their CIV will increase by a lot more than the 7.5% or 6% average increase. And this is something that we as a council and all local governments fought against the Victorian government adapting this process, and unfortunately we're stuck with it. So I do note on the flip side, when people have a problem, now they have to go to the valuer general and raise their concerns about their value of their property rather than to us. So we basically have nothing to do with the process, nothing to do with the outcome, as I said, I think this process is cause unnecessary concern in the community regarding their rates. And when they go up temporarily for a year, they might go back the next couple of years, and it's just, yeah, it's a dog's breakfast. But anyway, I'm not speaking against the motion. I'm speaking for the motion.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Are there any speakers against the motion? Are there any other speakers to the motion? In that case, I'll put the Councillor Chen.
I just want to clarify that some residents probably will object the valuation outcome. And I'm quite sure that council will outline the objection process on council's website. And when the annual rates go out to the residents, and the brochure will include how they can, well, if they have objection and about the process, and direct them where they can go. So look out our council's website and the race brochure if anyone want to object. There will be a process there.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers for the motion? I will therefore put the motion. Those for? I see all councillors have supported the motion. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 11.3, recreational lands, charges in lieu of rates 2020-21. Do we have a mover?
Mr. Mayor, I move as on the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Piccinini. Councillor Goff.
Only to say that recreational lands need to be considered a bit separately, and we have considered them in that list and table. Some of them are actually run by community organisations, and they'll be the tennis clubs and whatever responsible for that land. But there are two parcels of land, as you can see there, that are run by other private enterprises. One of them is the Venator Club, and the other one is the Yarra Valley Country Club. And in lieu of rates, we have apportioned those amounts of money to be paid by those organisations in place of rates, because of the Culture and Recreational Lands Act of 1963 not being able to have rates, but it can have a charge put against it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Piccinini.
I'd just like to add, Mr. Mayor, that in relation to the properties, that if the zone was to change or the land use was to change, council under the law and under the Act will and can claw back 10 years of rates. So I think that's an important thing for our residents to know, that if, for instance, one of these properties was to have a different zone and a different land use, then at law, we will be able to claw back the last 10 years of rates.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? I'll therefore put the motion. Those for? All councillors have indicated their support. That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 12, shared services. There are no shared services reports. Item 13, Chief Executive Officer. 13.1, record of assembly of councillors. Do I have a mover for this particular matter, councillors? Councillor Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hynes. Councillor Chen.
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Hynes.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. I will therefore put the motion. Councillors, those for? All councillors have indicated their support. Thank you, councillors. That is carried. Item 14, urgent business. 14.1, the Audit and Risk Committee independent member reappointments. Do I have a mover for this particular matter? Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council reappoint Mr. Andrew Dix for the second term of the Audit and Risk Committee as an independent member, commencing on the 1st of July 2020 and expiring on 30 June 2023.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Conlon. Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you. I seek council's support on this motion. Councillor Goff and I sit on the Audit Risk Committee, and we deal with Mr. Andrew Dix, who I'm sure Councillor Goff would agree is a very engaged, highly knowledgeable member of that committee. I would like to also point out that Mr. Dix did attend an interview with a panel for reappointment, and the panel found that he had demonstrated his value in this role for the last 3 years, and that he had significant experience and expertise in both internal and external audit programs, and he demonstrated a very good understanding of the risks that council face. So I seek your support to reappoint Mr. Dix for a further 3 years as an independent member of our Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Piccinini. Well, I'm happy to second Andrew, because when I was on the Audit and Risk Committee, he impressed me as an extremely valuable and knowledgeable member of that committee. He's very diligent in preparation for all the meetings that I witnessed, and he's extremely well qualified. And also, his name is Andrew, so he's got to be a good guy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other speakers to the motion? In that case, I will put the motion. Those for. Thank you, councillors. I see with the raised hands that motion is supported unanimously. Motion is carried. Item 14.2, a Lions Park Warrandyte construction tender. Do I have a mover for this particular matter? Councillor Conlon.
So I'd like to move that Council resolves that the Lions Park Warrandyte construction tender report and resolution excluding confidential attachment 1 that was considered at the 26th of May 2020 council meeting is no longer confidential information and is made available to the public.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Galbally. Councillor Conlon.
No, I actually don't want to. I don't need to add anything to this. The report will be made public. So,
thank you, councillor. Councillor Galbally.
No, so no.
Thank you, councillor. Any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? I will therefore put the motion. Those for. I see all hands raised. Thank you, councillors. That motion is carried unanimously. Item 15, councillor questions time. Councillors, does anyone wish to raise a question? Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question regarding athletics car park. And the athletic car park and corner overflow car park are unsealed and their ongoing maintenance is costly.
Sorry, councillor, could you just clarify, are you talking about the car park at Reichicks Reserve?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Please keep going.
And sealing the car park service will resolve many potholes issues and dust issues and reduce maintenance cost. And it's a recommendation of the Reichicks Reserve Management Plan 2012. And given the level of usage, and can officers advise when our residents can expect the sealed car park be delivered? And there are many potholes at the moment in all shapes and sizes. And can that be filled and treated before the club resumed their practice? Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. I'll refer that question to our CEO, Mr. Andrew. No, I'll try that again to our Director of City Services, Michelle Quattrucci.
Thank you, Councillor Chen, for your question. I might answer that in two parts. One, we would take on notice the question in relation to the timing for the resurfacing, but in the meantime, there will be maintenance carried out on the potholes you've mentioned to make sure that the car park remains serviceable and functionable for people using that reserve. But I will come back to you and take that on notice in terms of the timing for the greater works and improvement works in line with the master plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from councillors?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just
Councillor Hynes.
regarding our previous discussion, could I please ask for a report come to council and SBS briefing sessions regarding our forward thinking with community encouragement for different bands to possibly tender, and the possibility of a report to tender for other being able to perform here in Manningham and other things, and make it a more public and fairness and transparent conversation. So yeah, so just for there are many musicians throughout Manningham that feel that it would be nice for them to be able to put bands and things together on behalf of Manningham as well. So I'd like council to consider that and a report to come back to us. I don't need to discuss now.
Thank you, Councillor. So you'd like that report to come back to a strategic briefing session, is that right?
The briefing sessions, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you,
and then
Councillor.
to how we move forward.
Are there any other questions, councillors? Great, thank you. Item 16, confidential reports. We have a matter before us on the 10-year Parks Improvement Program. Do I have a mover?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural.
Yes, Councillor Goff.
No, I'm standing up. Isn't that awful? Isn't that happening?
It's automatic, yes.
That council declare the 10-year Parks Improvement Program report to be considered in open council meeting, the subject of the removal of the confidential information contained in attachments 1 and 3 relating to the potential land acquisitions and land use planning that, if prematurely released, would be likely to encourage speculation on land values.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that item? Councillor Hynes. I'll put that procedural motion, those for. Councillor Goff, I can't see. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. That's unanimously supported. I can see all the hands raised. That is carried. So that takes us straight to item 16.1, the Parks Improvement Program.
And Mr. Mayor, do you want me to read out the whole motion or just move that the report be adopted, the recommendations be adopted?
That the recommendation be adopted, thanks, is fine. Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you. I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hynes. Hold on a second, please, Councillor Goff. Councillor Piccinini.
Was my understanding from the governance officer that we were to read the recommendation word for word from the Pinks?
Okay, I can do that. And that is the recommendation that Council A endorse the 10-year Parks Improvement Program in attachment 1. B, notes the 10 Park Improvement Program also includes information through to 2039 and endorse the park infrastructure provision levels criteria, the criteria in attachment 2.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll try that again. Having that motion is so moved, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hynes. Thank you. Councillor Goff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you, Councillor Piccinini.
This is a plan of how we're going to undertake a very important responsibility of community assets throughout our community, i.e. our open space and parks. And in doing so, a couple of things have actually come to light, and this is a plan to address those situations. A number of things do come up, and that is that we do have a lot of parks, and I did write down somewhere how many we do have, but 301 parks covering 636 hectares. Within that, we've also got 162 playgrounds. And an interesting fact that Manningham is a very leafy area in that 18%, that's what nearly a fifth of our municipality is open space. An incredible amount of open space for a municipality. In fact, in comparable to, I don't know any other metropolitan council that have so much. It does come at a cost, does come with some money. Some of the issues that are being addressed in this 10-year plan, and I thank the officers and everybody for looking through this and recognising the difficulties of problems that are into the future. One of the difficulties is that, our playgrounds have got a 20-year lifestyle, a 20-year lifetime limit, and we've been doing 10 or so a year. We don't really have enough to cover all of the playgrounds to get done in that time. So we do have to up our rate to about 15 a year. So this is addressing those sorts of things. It's all based on the open space strategy, and that's clearly publicised and on our websites and everything. An open space strategy for where we're going to put open space and what we're going to do and how we're going to treat it, and also within there what levels of services go into what size parks. So we've got those tiny little parks that are on a quarter acre. They might have a seat in it and some trees, but then we've got other major parks and playgrounds where they are greatly visited, like Ruffy Lake Park. We've also got the children's playground down near Finns Reserve, Wombat Bend, and other sorts of lots of playgrounds and parks and things in between. How we're going to fund it when some of our facilities. So this is a report in going in how we're going to look forward to the future, how we're planning it. And the interesting thing to note in this case is that it actually, the activities that we've got into our budget coming up are incorporated in this plan and fit within the plan that we've got coming up here. So now there's one, if I've got time, Mr. Mayor, there is one other issue that is important and is being addressed by Manningham here, and that is the need to create some more open space and parks in highly built up areas where our populations are shifting and changing. And when we go for higher density, we need to be able to cater for recreational activities in and around there. And the open space strategy goes some way towards addressing this. And we need to be able to empower the parks people to be able to accommodate and provide the services in those areas that are going to be of greater demand into the future, because that's where higher density in Manningham is going.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Oh, me?
Councillor Hynes.
Thank you. Yes, I totally echo what Councillor Goff has said. And very importantly, the open space strategy does talk about how great our parks and how green our city is. But for those of us living in the 1/5 of Manningham that pretty much is overdeveloped and increasing in development as we speak, and the state planning scheme continues to change and allow that, and developers continue to develop. I'm so glad that we are now putting forward a 10-year parks improvement program. It's really important, and this report addresses those things that have been missing in the past. And it has dates that go past the 10 years to date to 2039. But for this 10-year program, this is regarding some work that needs to be done now to have some parks upgraded and also renewal. So I'm very pleased that it's going to have timely renewal and upgrades of the play spaces, because they are more and more used as we speak, to do with 162 play spaces. But also the parks are used a lot more. We have a lot more people that are moving into the area, and they don't have backyards, and our parks are used. I'm looking forward to seeing more parks up in the Doncaster and highly developed area. And this report, an improvement program, helps to put that forward as quickly as possible. So the sooner we can get this across the line and check our, have the council work on the budgets to improve our parks and give us more parks, the better our community's well-being will be. So I ask everyone to support this. And I'm glad it's going public, so that way they get to know that we actually are doing this on behalf of them.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? That being the case, I will put the motion. Those for? Thank you, councillors. I see all hands raised. That's a unanimous support for this particular motion. That motion is carried. So, councillors, we have one more item for us to consider on the agenda this evening. And I have a procedural motion here, councillors, to enable this meeting to be made a private meeting. So if I could have a mover for that particular motion to close the public council meeting, Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider item 16.2, rental relief request concerning private commercial information, being financial information provided by a business that, if released, would unnecessarily expose the business to disadvantage.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that particular procedural motion? Councillor Kleinert. I will therefore put the motion. Those for? Those against? Thank you. I see all hands raised, councillors. That's carried unanimously. As we have now determined that we'll be closing the meeting to the public, we'll be ending this live stream and commence our closed meeting.